Welcome to another episode of the Art in Session podcast, where we dive into the world of creative professionals, offering inspiration, insights, and practical tools for artists at every stage of their journey. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, our conversations are here to support your growth, connect you with the community, and help you make a real impact with your art. Let's get into it.
We'll start off with just your name, where you're from, and what type of art you make.
My name is Shannon Shine. I'm from West Virginia right now, and I create mixed media art.
Hi, my name is Rachel Rouse. I'm a visual artist from Wilmington, North Carolina, and I do a lot of surrealism through illustration and mural work.
My name is Madison Wampler. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I honestly didn't I didn't know this was happening. And I was in here creating, but I'm really glad I'm here for this because I feel like I'm going to hear some things I need to hear and learn as an artist. I'm a nature crafter. I like working with natural elements to make a variety of mixed media goodies.
Nice. Welcome.
My name is Cameron Davis. I'm a visual artist from Louisville, Kentucky, and I work mainly with acrylic, and every now and then I work with oil paint.
Hi, I'm Melissa Lee. I'm from Colorado, and I am a psychedelic nature-inspired painter working with watercolor, oil, printmaking, and acrylic.
Hi, my name is Josh Otis. I live in Omaha, Nebraska, and I do art that's kind of like surrealism with elements of Art Nouveau and Art Deco. I work with acrylics and oils primarily, and I also do some digital and graphic work.
Hello, young artist. I am Randall Roberts. I've been a full-time professional artist for 13 years, and I've always liked to make art, mostly do acrylic paintings and drawing.
I'm Kate Zeller. I'm from Colorado, and I am just living the experience here, creating my life as the art.
Hi, I'm Lacey, Silver Arrow Art, and I use mostly acrylics and oils, but I like to shake it up and use weird mediums like bones and jewelry and chains and stuff too.
I'm Harrison H.L. Crawford, currently based out of West Virginia. I do like fairy tale surrealism with acrylic, oil, sometimes illustration.
I'm Spiro. I make art a lot. I think I've been recently wanting to call it psychedelic expressionism. So I do paintings and sculpture, but I've been really interested in the performance aspect afterwards too. So creating a piece and then bringing it to life through movement and dance. That's been my new inspiration lately.
I'm Caitlin. I'm from Hershey, Pennsylvania. I would say expression, dreamscape. I studied art therapy, so I did a lot of therapeutic process and then symbolism in it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. We'll pass the mic several times. Everyone will get to chime in on this, but I've got some general questions. How many have this as a part-time income? Your art is bringing in a part-time income. Full-time income? We got some full-time incomes. Okay. How many people have a business plan that was updated in the last 3 years? Anybody? A business plan? That's a great question. No, what is a business plan? So your business plan is a breakdown of your vision and how you're going to go about executing it. So it includes things like a mission statement, like why am I making this art? What are my intentions for doing so? It includes a market analysis for what are my other competitors in my range doing? I've gone and I've done that research and I put together some notes about what's working. What's my strategy look like? How do I want to monetize my art? And actually breaking down those different services you offer of different streams of income for you. And then it includes projecting, where have I been? Kind of taking some of those numbers from the past and then considering where you want to go and attaching some numbers to those so that you can get really clear about that vision. It's something I start with because I've really struggled with putting these ideas together in one place that I can reference and that could help guide me because it seems so overwhelming to do it all at once. It's oh, I got it. Wow, that was a lot of things you just listed, right? That's going to take some time. And I think that when you try to take the whole bite, it's too much to chew, and we need to break it back down into smaller bites and look at a business plan in sections. Things like just your mission statement. What is that for now? Where am I headed from the broader perspective? And then maybe you're getting caught up on some accounting, or you have been in this for a while and you haven't really used your numbers to help guide you. You're just kind of getting through it, getting the IRS whatever they need so you don't go to prison or wherever you go. And that's kind of how I've done it because I'm not a numbers person. But one of the biggest lessons I've learned this year in monetizing my craft is that level of awareness and organization around the numbers can help you like really accelerate to that next level of whatever your goals are. And I've had so much fear and anxiety around it. I was behind on some taxes. Like I said, I'm not a numbers person. I'm not even in this for the money. I don't care. I just want to make art, right? But I really do want to be able to maximize this opportunity and be supported fully. And I wasn't sure of like what to ask the universe for because I hadn't done the research about what it was actually costing me to do this. I just knew it would come. Well, what is it? What's coming? How much? And more clear I've gotten about that vision and taken the time to put some numbers attached to those steps, the more the universe is provided. And it's so in line with what I already believe that like if you can get there in your mind, you can get there in your body and visualize. And while I've been visualizing what abundance feels like, it's kind of been like being on this journey without any directions of exactly where I'm headed to that one number. It's just like this thing I know I'll obtain somehow. While that has kind of worked because I'm still here and doing it, it's been incredibly stressful. Because there's times when I haven't planned accordingly and I haven't sold any art or all of the well has run dry, and then there I am again being like, oh shit, bills are due. Well, I've got to hustle. What is it? What do I, is it trying to find a mural job? Is it trying to push canvas prints on the internet? Is it having to borrow money from someone again? I might go like a really long time from being in that place. And I think I've got a handle on it. I'm like, okay, things are good. My art's selling. I'm getting jobs. I got plenty of murals lined up. I'm fine. So I don't take the time to get back to that level of organization and awareness because I don't have to in that moment. But then I'll get close to the edge again and, even maybe below that line. And, and I feel so like it's shameful kind of. Because I'm like, I know better than this. I've like been in business for a long time and I should want to have this level of organization. I do want it. I think we can all kind of resonate with that like struggle behind getting clear about what we need so that we can have those needs met and not falling into old patterns where we just kind of like wing it along the way. I think that there's so much room for that winging it in our art and in our creation process. But when it comes to our money and like what we need to be thriving, we definitely have to reel it in a little bit and get a handle on that. So I just wanted to plant that seed because it's been so heavy on my heart. It's what I'm personally dealing with right now when I leave here is getting caught up on my taxes. And I know there's so much abundance out there, but I want to show the universe I'm ready for it. I can handle big money because I've got a solid foundation and organization in place and awareness around it. And I'm going to make different choices now. It doesn't matter what choices I've made before now. Here, starting after, Secret Dreams 2024, I can turn a new leaf. And we all have that ability to not be so scared of the admin part. Getting through it sometimes means having some help, reaching out to other people that are running businesses to get a handle on it, especially when it comes to accounting.
I feel like any energy or effort that you put towards your craft always comes back around to you. So it might be like this tiny little interaction or like a little project that you're like, oh, I'm beyond this, or like that's not in my plan. But it just kind of comes in, and if you like give that effort and that energy, I've had things come back like 6 years later that ends up being like my biggest collector from like one little like side track from my plan. So I think it's like to stay open and like you think you want this, but sometimes the universe is like, no, you got to do this first and then like wind back around. So I don't know. I think it's like having the structure and the flow. Like if you have all structure, you got to like be like malleable.
Yeah. Wasn't at all asserting that you shouldn't have the flow. I think you bring up a really good point. You got to like have flexibility because things are going to change and be open to like it coming from all directions. I just personally I've been like really in the dark about it, So let's talk while you guys have the mic. Give me 3 streams of income that you have. 3 different types of streams of income from your art.
I host paint parties. Been doing that for about like 7 years. Online, so I've been directing a lot of online sales. So I've been working on marketing. That's been a hone-in process for me. For abundance, like technique for that, I have on my board. I made 3 sales today and more to open up and more abundance instead of saying 3 sales only, and more. Commissions, murals, and my clothing. So I think that's,
Installations are the thing I like the best. Selling paintings, mostly through Instagram. Being like a weird psychedelic therapist for people that was like not in the art realm, but it tends to be like how people find me that aren't necessarily just looking for art. They're like looking through like to get through a hard time in their life or to like get through a struggle, and art is like a catalyst for it. So
Art in Session is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to provide professional and educational opportunities to creatives. Thanks to support from our listeners, we are able to keep this mission going. If you are enjoying this podcast, please consider donating at www.artinsession.org.
Time in their life or to like get through a struggle, and art is like a catalyst for it. So
Selling my paintings mostly through Instagram, as like they find me at a festival and then down the line they want it before it's done, which usually tells me when the painting's done. I do municipal work, like civic work. That can be actually harder to get paid than this stuff, weirdly enough. And sign painting, oddly enough, I really like sign painting. It's really, really, really easy to do well. Once you do what we do, it just make a grid and finish it, and it's money and walk away.
I sell a lot of small reproductions at local shows and local events, and I sell my originals, but I've been getting a lot more into murals and trying to do big, more permanent art, and that has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, everything you were saying really resonated with me. I need to redo my business plan. I jumped on it 10 years ago real hard and crushed print sales on Instagram and Facebook, and then that whole environment has changed a lot, as we all know. Really rocked me, making 50, 60 grand a year to making like 7. I'm still figuring all that out. It does start with a business plan. My income streams mostly were posters online, and it hasn't dwindled, and I haven't gotten worse at painting. I don't know, I'm still figuring it out. And I really love workshops. I believe in the power of a workshop. I'm pretty good at it, and I just need to pack in a few more, and that'll be a pretty decent income stream. Selling originals, same deal. When the California weed money was like rocking in tandem with this scene, I was selling originals left and right, and all that seems to have sort of dried up, to my dismay. I'm not really sure how to approach it. I do keep coming back to art. I make art, get my ass in the chair, sit at the easel, and that's my job every day. And like you were saying, some things come around. There are events in motion now that will answer your prayers in the future, and you just have to trust that it's all going to be down the river there. But yeah, these are slim times for your favorite trippy artist. I've really been rocked by financial dip, Anyway, maybe you guys can...
Thank you for sharing, Randall. I think it's so important for us because it's so relatable, and to hear one of your favorite artists, to know that you're going through it, like the vulnerability means a lot, and so does just the reminder we're in this together. So thank you for sharing.
I make a living through a bunch of different little things. I've been doing design work for a t-shirt company called Curbside Clothing since 2011, so I get a check every month for that. And then I do just some freelance design work for people, mostly poster and album art stuff for bands, and then just a smattering of random logo jobs or whatever. I've been doing mural stuff for the past few years, and I work in conjunction with an established mural company out of Omaha, where they just kind of hire me to come on and lend a hand painting, and that's been really good. The past, I think about a year ago, I started working with them. So since I've been trying to kind of do it on my own, I've been kind of doing some of my own projects, and then I'll go on and work with them, and they have been super generous about just sharing all their tricks of the trade and stuff like that. So I'm getting a good education on that to help do my own thing with it. Coming to things like this from time to time, I kind of ebb and flow with how successful I am with making a living off of it. I find myself picking up part-time work sometimes. I've been doing some landscaping work on the side, a couple days a week, which in some ways kind of sucks, but also kind of having a way to release that constant pressure of having to make a living solely on the art. It kind of can sometimes strangle out the life of it, or the stress around it can just make it not be that fun. So it's going and just doing some manual labor a couple days a week gives me that steady trickle of a little bit of income on the side, and then as long as I can keep enough time to do the art and have flexibility to be able to come out and do this kind of stuff, still create the way I want to create it. It doesn't really bother me that much to have a little bit of side income like that.
There's this great book by Elizabeth Gilbert called Big Magic. I demand you all read it. It goes way into putting a leash around the muse and trying to get it to pay your rent and all the pitfalls that go along with that, and a lot of other cool stuff. She's a fucking G. Please read that book.
Well, I just want to say I appreciate this question because it's not what is your source of income. I think that what I've learned over the years is diversifying your income streams is key. If something's not working out, you have other things to back up on. It's not ever going to be just one way that you're making art or making money with your art. I have done a lot of graphic design work. I've done posters, albums for bands. I sell originals. I do art on clothing. I come to these festivals, and I just think it's really important to have multiple sources of income because maybe you don't like doing logos and you need to have other stuff to back up on, and you're able to focus on one more if it's really working. And it's really good to be able to move with where your inspiration is moving and the finances are coming in. So it just really is important to have multiple sources coming at you instead of just one. To come to a festival and expect to make money is not a good idea. It's really, really important that you have other ducks in a row, other things that you have lined up for after the festival in case you don't make money. The less stress you can have on one source is important. You don't want it to be a needed income from each source. So this is just a great question of it being three. What are your three sources versus just one? And I think that's actually the key.
My three sources of income, or three of them, would be I have a Shopify store, which I also have stuff hooked up to it with drop shipping. I use this website called thisnew.com, and it allows you to create image mock-ups of what you're gonna have available, so you can see what they're gonna look like beforehand, and then you can hook them up to your website. I also do a few wholesale orders with some local businesses in Louisville, where I'm from. Got a buddy who owns a smaller art gallery. It's really cool. It's more of like a gift shop / art gallery. And I've also done a wholesale order to this place called Rainbow Blossom, which has like organic food and stuff. I also have a stream of income with renegade painting. Typically when I'm live painting, I'll have some pins or magnets and stuff next to me while I'm set up. And also more recently, I've been diving into the gallery stuff with festivals, which has been an honor, and that's been an awesome learning experience and source of income. Also in the winter time, I go to this place called Galaxy Bar where I'm from, and it's an EDM nightclub where I've worked out a deal with the owner to where I can set up a booth in exchange for live painting. And for providing that service of entertainment through live painting, I get to share and sell my creations.
For me, I would say live painting has been a beautiful gateway into all kinds of work. I primarily started making most of my income from that. But then from there, I have people asking me all the time, well, can you do my logo? Can you do a poster? Can you do an album cover? And that is so comforting to know that you do have that ability to make the connections to make the money if you bring what you love and want to share with the world out into the world. Also, murals are a great source when you can get them.
So aside from everything that everyone else has said, because we need many outlets, I used to do the festival thing for like 8 years and got really burnt out and went into having my own gallery and collective, and helping other artists is a way to also help yourself. I think that that's a really important thing to build that collective community rather than competition. So I run a gallery where we do take a small commission so that I can keep the gallery running. And I made friends with as many other galleries and small business owners that maybe wouldn't normally have art, like coffee shops. I pay my bills through just having my art displayed at a local coffee shop. And people don't often think about putting their art there. And they'll do it sometimes on wholesale, but sometimes you just got to risk the consignment and like really trust your community. And another one is conferences. Like outside of just the festival world, there's this world where there's air conditioning and buildings and like people that dress in normal muggle clothes, but they have money and they want to pay to hear us talk about what it's like to be fairies in the fields here. And they pay to have you talk, which is really cool. And tapping into nonprofits. So seeing the nonprofit scene hit the festival scene is also what like brought me back to finding a love for festivals. I've tapped into several nonprofits in West Virginia and the Appalachia, and they are looking into ways to offer guaranteed basic income to artists that will apply and show that they have professionalism no matter what the field, so we can pay our bills and also have a proof of income to like buy houses and cars and stuff. Like we need more of that. Just diversifying your market, really, like not
just big prints, but you need small things and things people can carry because people have different budgets, but they want to support you.
These were all such good answers, guys. I got like a lot of takeaways, and just hearing everybody's own version of what we're all doing is really cool. I loved, like, Josh, your point about teaming up with an organization that is producing murals and that already has a bunch of leads and guaranteed work, and then simultaneously, like, so maybe you're working for a less rate than you would if you contracted that yourself, but you're getting this learning experience from people that have the business end dialed in. So that simultaneous learning, work trade / getting paid. And then I also think there is nothing wrong with still having some kind of like bread and butter that you're also comfortable balancing with your art. You know, it's about how it feels. And if making art is stressful because you have to like pay your bills that way, you know, finding ways to release that resistance through other streams of income that might be completely outside of art for a little while. I know when we go back and forth, like, oh, I've been a full-time artist for a while, I don't want to go back to doing something else. Like, releasing the shame around that too, because all of this is temporary. We're just kind of ebb and flowing through these experiences, and we need that support so we can actually be inspired to create. So I know most of you, and for those of you who don't, I'm going to follow my intuition, but I have a question that's different for each of you, and I'll just pass it around and ask. So Kate, my question for you is, can you speak on consignment, licensing? Like, I found that you're always looking into your passive income, which things like murals, those are active income. I have to go somewhere and paint a thing. Passive income is like selling a print online through a drop shipper where that art is already created and now it's making money for me. And I think things like licensing and consignment are not often, or like wholesale packages, things that we think about, that there would be other people that want to represent us and sell our art. So Kate has some experience with that. Caitlin?
So licensing is not that much experience yet. I'm still figuring it out. But consignment, retail. Online, I have package stuff. So there's like a starter package for like my pashminas and certain things, a certain price that they start off with 5 as like a start and see how it goes, and then they build up. Recently, I haven't been pushing that as much as I would like to because I've been distracted focusing on festivals. So
it's on your website, right? You did put together some options.
On my website, and that's like a goal of mine, is to get more into like wholesale and consignment and to create that passive income with that, because I feel like that's the route that's gonna go, because I've been really burning myself out at festivals.
How did you decide like what to sell those packages for? How did you even reach that point of, all right, I want to do a wholesale package? What would I include and how much would that cost?
I mean, I would go from like how much it costs me, and then the less they get, the more it's gonna be. So the more they get, the less it's gonna be. So if it's like 20, you know, it's gonna be a certain price. And then if it's 3, it's obviously gonna be like $25-$30 if not. But
so
it's
just
by
spreadsheet
percentage.
Is compared.
Yeah, I have a spreadsheet, a lot of Excel sheets that's been forming and figuring out, because that's like my new business plan, is like reaching out to that. It's a lot of scouting and a lot of reaching out. I have a whole Excel sheet that's like, okay, the people I called, I emailed this date, this is my follow-up date, and that's a whole back end, I guess, administration type of process, and that's growing as well. I have a question.
Sure.
For doing murals and like reaching out to, I don't know, corporate companies that already have to like set yourself up, like how do you find those?
Find the corporate jobs?
Yeah, find those, or like proposals. Okay, cafe.
For art website.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of hit or miss though. It used to be like they were all really good, but now there's a lot of like scammy stuff, so you kind of have to like feel it out.
Yeah, and another thing that I'm like working with like making my clothing, is how I feel ethically about making and producing. Like I want to do maybe cotton stuff or a lot of one of a kinds and upcycle. And so right now I'm trying to find this balance between, yes, the pashminas are great, they do really sell. My main income with the festivals is like pashminas and like a lot of my clothing. You know, I sell more of that than anything. But then also it's like that balance between, I don't know. So I'm like still trying to figure that out. And capitalism, I've been learning about that.
That's what I love about you, Caitlin, is that you'll like see a need to diversify and you'll try something, and you like with the packages, you're like, I want this to be something people could go to my website, see what they could buy. And, you know, even if you're not pushing it that hard right now, you're setting yourself up to have multiple streams of income in that way. For me, for corporate stuff, once I landed a couple corporate jobs, I started getting more because they just either recommended or saw those. So maybe pick out, starting local, like a couple of businesses that you know could use a mural. If you can knock out a mock-up in a way that makes sense for you and the time that you'd invest, sometimes I'll do that without a design fee they don't even know they want a mural until I've showed them what my design on their wall is going to look like. I might come up with something and then try to find that decision maker and already like have some of those steps in place. I think when you reach out and be like, hey, I'm a mural artist. You guys could use a mural. Cool. They don't know what that means. To them, they're not able to immediately grasp the value of having this large scale image that would be an interactive experience for their patrons. When they see that mock-up on the wall in their establishment, I've closed deals a lot faster that way. And then like more came from that. But yeah, maybe shooting corporate.
I also give a 10% finder's fee.
Nice.
Like if someone lands me a mural gig, I'll like kick them some money.
That's great. Ashley said 10% finder's fee. Take the mic. Ashley, you're next on the question chain.
What's up, Anya?
You have been a massive inspiration to me over the years for how...
You too, babe.
Thank you. For how bold you are in all ways. A lot of us are struggling to find our style and find our voice and find our perspective, and you've dialed it in so well, and it's so like unique to you in a way that it stands out amongst a sea of other artists. And so I'd like to know, like, how did you develop that style? How have you grown into it? And like, what is your advice to an artist that might also be looking to find who they are and brand it?
Well, I'm crazy. I painted for years. So I was about to be on like the festival live painting thing. And I had a lot of big spiritual psychedelic experiences in my life. I'm like very clearly on the like spiritual medicine path. I work with a lot of plant medicine, and I left this whole scene to go travel alone in Latin America. Went through Guatemala and Costa Rica, Nicaragua, and just painted murals, and kind of was like, I didn't even have a cell phone. Like there was no like, oh, I made this, look at it. It was just me like trying to heal myself and figure out how to make myself happy, and just like making art because I like needed it. I like needed it for my emotional balance. It just became a part of like my lifestyle. And I lived in like a little mud hut in Asheville and like a teepee in Asheville, and I would just like live super cheap and just make art. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh wait, yeah, this is clearly like what I should do for a living. But I think I became an artist because I like never wanted to live within the system. Since I was like 10 years old, I was like, this shit does not make sense. What are people doing? It doesn't make sense. And so like being an artist was my way to like just create my own life. Like I have a problem with authority, like I want to like be able to do whatever I want. And I think that's like the medicine, like the liberation. Like we live in such a culture that's being kind of like opiated and pacified and told what to do. So to be able to like be a rebel and like be authentic and like speak from your artist voice is so important. We have this bubble, like we've all known each other. We've been living in the art bubble. Like there's so many people in the world that have never even had a little taste of this. They've never even seen anything psychedelic. And like I try to remember that, and I like more and more I want to reach those people. I've been thinking about it too, like how like this gallery here, how many people go through it in one day? What fine art gallery do you know that gets that many people walking by it in one day? Like maybe like the Louvre, for real. And so it's like we want to be in these professional spaces and like I'm a professional artist, this, but when you're really those are people that are already like into art. Here it's just someone that's like little trees, and then they're like, whoa, what is that? It's like the curiosity like element, and that's what keeps me going to these things. We're like the grandparents of this scene. So many people look up to you that you don't know do, and so just be authentic. Like don't let Insta Gummy Land fuck with you. Like keep it real, like because it can fuck with you, and like if you make it your job and you have to like create this other persona, it can really like screw you up. So I think just for my mental health, like I have to be authentic, or else I'm like confused, and like.
Well, you're shining from the inside out. I think your point about wanting to give a little bit of this psychedelic energy to other people, that comes through in your, even just your energy without knowing you, but also in your style and in your art and in your personality. So
it's like a microdose. Like not everyone's meant to like eat psychedelics, but I think that consciousness and that mindset is beneficial all around, it's like the connective force.
You're bringing it. Thank you. H.L. Crawford in the house. This amazing artist, someone that I know is making a massive impact in their community. And that's what I would like you to touch on. Like, how are you taking these experiences that you've had and bringing them back home in a way that is impacting the people around you? And maybe even touching on getting into some of those community-based projects involving bigger organizations or even the government or cities.
Absolutely. I got the heebie-jeebies at Burning Man 2016 or 2015. I kind of hated it halfway through because I didn't know who it was getting to. It really really matters to me that we're not just saying the same things over and over to each other out in the woods, that I wasn't talking in circles, that I wasn't rehashing in a bubble all the time. I hate to say it, but kind of complaining out loud about it got me connected with different people that were like, I work for a Montessori school, I work for this, I work for that. It's a lot of, at first, taking gigs with really weird pay if you're getting paid and not knowing how to set up your syllabus or this, that, and the other. I did a workshop with juvenile felons in West Baltimore where it was working past limiting beliefs and working past growing up in poverty with the arts and thinking of like a dream on one side and a fear on the other and deciding what you want to do with it from there. And there was no handbook for that. I mean, the teachers were behind bulletproof glass. I didn't want to do that. So I was grateful that my improvisational, my coming from that part of my life, like I find civic things with local pride committees, with trans representations as a non-binary person, but not needing to be androgynous. As a brown person, I do work with NAACP as much as I can and different organizations for marginalized people in that regard. Impoverished people, I do a lot of compassion, fatigue, and addiction destigmatization workshops and lectures because I come from that. And I can argue from that. And if they're willing to pay me to be there, then they're willing to listen to these people that they're marginalized. So I would say if you're getting into it, look for your local person that does it. They're probably a guy in an office or a person in an office you can go get to and have it be from something that you can actually speak on. And it might be something you were afraid of speaking from. It might be something you hid from, or you wouldn't let yourself progress as an artist because of these things. But then those are the things that you can actually speak from honestly and fully and bigly. It doesn't pay well or consistently, and everybody mentors up. Yeah, it's less sporadic than this, but with multiple income streams, it becomes this really neat thing where for 2 weeks, yeah, you're tired out in a field doing this, and for 2 weeks, you're tired out at a school showing them how to repaint their walls and stuff. You're still tired. It's still not passive income. But then you watch this whole community freak out that the local middle schooler like designed the mural.
That's great. Thank you.
Art in Session is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to provide professional and educational opportunities to creatives. Thanks to support from our listeners, we are able to keep this mission going. If you are enjoying this podcast, please consider donating at www.artinsession.org.
That's great. Thank you. Lacey, I'm really just proud of you for showing up, being willing to use your voice here and really at festivals in general, because I know that it can be a struggle if you're sensitive to large crowds or a lot of people. And I think others in this community need to know that you don't have to be this extreme extrovert, lay it all out on the table kind of person to be able to contribute in this space. And if you have any tips for someone that is more introverted, how are you navigating this? And what support have you had in showing up?
So live painting actually gave me the bridge to be able to be around large amounts of people a lot of the time. If I can create a bubble and create a space where I'm destimulating and have a little bit of a barrier, a little bit of focus to the energy that's happening, then that makes a world of a difference for me. There's some days when I have it and I can go out and do the social thing, and for the days that I don't, I have to learn to be patient with myself and find a place to sit down in some quiet and kind of recalibrate again, because at the end of the day, if I'm out there having a panic attack around a bunch of people, I'm not painting and having a fun time. So I might as well go back to my tent, recalibrate, and then come back and try again. And there's absolutely no shame in doing that.
Randall.
Hi.
When Ashley said we're the grandparents in this, I'm we are. We are. We've been around. We're still here. And one thing I've loved about watching your journey over the years, which has been truly inspiring, is that you're vulnerable. You show up hard on your sleeve, and your willingness to be authentic in that way and to share in your experience as an artist and what you're going through as a human is what makes your art so special. I think people are able to connect with it on a different level when they've also connected with you. So I would love to hear you speak on navigating through that vulnerability and, openness while also just trying to make art.
Yeah, there's a bunch of ways to go with that. Originally, it was kind of like a business plan, just be nice to everyone, because you never know, the person in front of you in the line at the supermarket might have a mural job. So I spent a lot of time at this place called the Omega Institute in New York. It's the biggest holistic retreat center in the country, and I was the dining hall manager there, and there was lots of before your shift started, we'd sit down and talk and a lot of stuff like this. Like, everybody get a chance to express all that. And it made me have some tools for extroversion because I was, I go back and forth. I'm so freaking like either it's life of the party or nobody look at me. And it's hard to navigate that. But originally I was like, I need to hit the world with the eyebrows up, first date energy, and just be like, hi, I'm an artist, and and like have this little elevator pitch that I have told now to tens of thousands of people. And then the problem is you sort of open yourself up to all kinds of energies, not just jobs, but whoever the fuck you're with. And I also kind of picked up from other friends, like art is my religion and it's my way. Once I became an artist, I became a spiritual person also. And I really love the idea that there's only like two people here. It's you and God. And I like navigating the world that way. There's only room for two in heaven. So it doesn't always kick in, but I do have a fun time kind of experiencing this world with like all of you with this mask on God's face. And I'm, kind of like, whoa, you really got me fooled this time, man. You look like a real person. So there's a little bit of an exercise with that. Like give everybody, no matter how nuts they are, boring or energy vampiric, just give them 10 minutes and try to see their heart and rock that namaste on them. And so that's how I kind of navigate the world. When I'm at my best, I'm like walking around just like digging on God, around me in all these different ways with the ant that curls on my finger and with my partner or what have you. But it's a whole about being authentic. Like, I don't really know how else to be at this point. I think that the world is in desperate need of open-hearted authenticity. When I look around, a lot of the stuff that's wrong, it's not being able to see the other human being across from you. I kind of get off on like destabilizing any walls between us, and just kind of like get in there. And that's just, I don't know, like a part-time game that I do. Let's see if I can get. And then also there's some of that is a psychological shortcomings because everybody's got to love me, and I figured out every possible way to like get you to like me. And sometimes it's humor and sometimes it's, acts of service or whatever. So I don't know, I'm playing around with all of that stuff. And that's how I hit the world authentically. There's a thing, some really great artists when I was starting out hit me with a lot of great advice. And I've written it all down and it's kind of become my thing, all these combinations. One of them is have nothing between you and the canvas. I was actually tripping at a festival and this awesome artist named David Alexander English was there at Lightning in a Bottle, and he said, have nothing between you and the canvas. And I was like, oh, really? And he said, have nothing between you and the canvas, and he hit me with it, and it just, whatever that means to you guys, I hope you can use it. And the other thing I've heard is the more personal it is, the more universal it is. So if you put your heart into your paintings and have nothing between you and the canvas, other people pick up on it and will support it, and they're thirsty for that in the world. I see a thirst. I see a big open space for us to move into there.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah.
That was great. All right, Josh.
All right.
I don't know you very well, but I spent a long time with your paintings, and I feel like I know you better. And I'd like to know how you got there. It sounds like you've got maybe a whole nother job. Do you have a family, or what's your life like in terms of art balance? And how did you develop such a beautiful craft? Maybe how much time are you spending painting, or what's going on?
I'm always trying to understand that myself. But I guess I think everything that kind of has led me to where I am now, it's all just like a bunch of little pieces, like jobs I've done, just like all these little things kind of add up and like layer on top of each other. Nothing is really like wasted, like I've done a lot of different kinds of work. I've done like stained glass work and dishwashing or what.
How much time are you spending painting? Like, it sounds like you do have this balance, but like your craft is so beautiful that I was just curious of like what your dedication to that looks like. How often are you refining or spending time in the studio?
Yeah, I think I've always been making art, but maybe since about like 2008, I started to take it more seriously and try to develop it. I started making kind of like psychedelic art around that time. And then in 2010, I started going to festivals. I went to like Wakarusa, and I went to the first Root Wire and the next few after that. And that was like a really inspiring pivot point for me. And I think that getting involved with the festival scene and making all these super inspiring artist friends kind of drove me forward with wanting to be a better artist. And I spend as much time as I can manage doing it. I like to have a lot of different avenues of creative expression, and some of it's more commercial or commission work or whatever, but I always try to keep developing as a painter and finding that like deeper authenticity, like, Randall was talking about. Yeah, the idea of like the more personal something is, the more universal it is. Like I totally resonate with that, and I think it's true. Like doing stuff that's like designing t-shirts or something, like I was really heavily involved with doing that for a while. And what would happen is like, I'd kind of just get in this mindset where I'm just trying to like make something that's cool and will sell. It was good for a while, and mixed in with that, I definitely put some deep thought into like a lot of the designs I did for that stuff, but I kind of lost a taste for it to a certain extent. Like I still do some of that kind of work. I'm more interested in like spending a lot of time with paintings now, that's like the art that really I think is the most important to me, so it's like, and I try to almost like not have the idea of finances in mind at all with like my most meaningful stuff that I do. I just try to like create the thing that is the most significant and beautiful that I can. I guess I'm just always chipping away at stuff, and all these little things and avenues I've taken have kind of coalesced in different ways and overlapped, and I think that nothing's ever really wasted with any of these things. Like all the art I make, if it's just like a sketch I'm doing on my iPad or something like that has no place to go, like sometimes it just comes back around. Like came here to do this project up in this secret room, and then they had a mural open up, and I'm like, I don't really have anything planned for it. And so I had my iPad with me, and I just like took these things that have just been sitting around, little elements, and I put them all together and making a mural of it, So it's like all these,
I love that. That was a great answer to a multi-layered question. Thank you
Thanks
for that. Melissa, so nice to have you here with us.
Thank
you. My question for you is about collaboration. It is something that a lot of artists have either been burned by or shy away from because they're scared to work with others, or maybe there's a lot of ego involved. I've loved to see you in the scene working with different painters and creating collections of art that are a reflection of all of you. Can you give some pro tips for collaborating and what's worked with you and your crew?
I would say that honestly, most of the people I collaborate I have a base level friendship already started with. I haven't done any collaborations with just a complete stranger. Not saying that's not possible. When you have a base level friendship, there's a base level trust. Your comfort level is there. You're able to speak up about things. You're able to feel comfortable to share your voice, not just between each other, but on the canvas. I think a base level respect for other artists' work is a place to start too. If you really enjoy their work, might be a good idea to figure out a way to collaborate together. And I think that there's a magic that comes from collaboration that you'll never find on your own, because it's like a mixing pot of something that you couldn't mix yourself. The ingredients are from other people's experiences, other people's taste, aesthetics, everything. And there's just something that can come from it that is truly magical in a way. I think it's a really good idea to collaborate, expand your view on what you enjoy aesthetically. Something that you would have never thought to do happens, and you're like, oh, I really like that. I'm going to bring that into my own work. I've grown a lot as an artist from working with other artists. I know it's been like pivotal in my process. And I think there are times when it's not comfortable. There's times when something you really enjoyed got painted over, and that in itself is another lesson of impermanence, and maybe you didn't know what was the right thing. Maybe that was meant to be, even though it hurts a little bit or it wasn't the plan. A lot of the times it ends up being proof that you maybe shouldn't know the plan, and like there is some higher thing above that really does come out. That's not something you could have figured out on your own by figuring out step by step. It's more trusting the process, trusting the universe, trusting artists around you, and really just trying to go with the flow and trust that everything is happening how it's supposed to happen and for a reason.
I always feel like I'm going to make tons of paintings on my own. If I get to come together for collab, it's like not mine or theirs. It's this whole other thing is going to happen, that getting outside of your head on all the things to allow that experience can be really beautiful. I love what you guys have created. So,
Thank you.
God, can't remember, racking my brain because there's like a million questions. So inspiring to see you as like this like student almost, you know, just kind of coming in, being like, I'm thirsty for knowledge. I'm going to check in with all my mentors. I'm going to ask if I can shadow them in some ways. You've worked our booths. You've taken our workshops. You've shown up to the scene and applied everything you've known to just like such a rapid rate. Like every time I see you, you're showing me a new way you're leveling up. Like this time, Cameron came with laminated signage for how his sales system worked for the sales attendants so that there was no question. He took pictures of the inventory bins where that merch was located and made a 1, 2, 3 step guide so that there'd be no confusion about how to sell his work. Everything is meticulously priced in such a to the point where like I can only aspire to be on this level, good sir. And just to see how quickly it's unfolded is cool. So tell us a little bit about those systems and like what's motivated you to get to that level of detail with your sales process.
Earlier in my journey, the very first retail job I ever worked was Cracker Barrel. If you've all have ever been to a Cracker Barrel, they have very meticulous layouts for their setups. So they had their own version of these sheets where it would be like almost as if you're assembling a Lego set. So you start off like the first stage is you put up these wooden blocks to get the shape right. Then you put on the clothes or the knickknacks and stuff. I didn't really put 2 and 2 together until like a few weeks ago. I'm always asking myself, okay, how can I take this to the next level and make it more convenient for myself? Shout out to Cracker Barrel in that regard. But also Chris Morphus has been a huge mentor of mine, and I met him in 2022. He showed me so much stuff so fast, and him and his crew have been, I don't even have words to describe like how much that has impacted me in a positive way. But he's showed me how he does his signage, and it's, in my mind, I tend to overcomplicate things, but he showed me the perspective of just making it really simple, like having a either black background, white text, or white text, black background, really easy, basic font, laying everything out so that I can make it as easy to digest for myself and for others too. So I can start wrapping my mind around, okay, when I have a team of people helping me out with the next version of the vision, like whether that be a booth or wherever that goes, now I have like a layout that I can show people.
It's an awesome job. Rachel, been so cool to see you just enter the scene and really soak it all in like a sponge. You know, you're helping everywhere you can. You're learning so much. And I think what's cool about what you've shared about your journey is like balancing some of your experiences with your health and your condition with your art, and how that's actually one experience that you're learning how to articulate in a way that can inspire other people. So if you feel called to speak on that, I think would be awesome to hear, like, how are you finding the ability to open up, you know, and yeah.
So I was born with an eye condition called nystagmus, which is a fancy way of saying that my eyes like to dance back and forth like I do. It's something I was born with, so I don't really know what it's like to have quote unquote normal vision. And it's something that has affected me my whole life, but I also try not to talk about most of my life because ableism is a thing and people treat you differently when they shouldn't. Art for me has always been a safe place to kind of explore that and lean into the fact that I don't see detail that well, but I can take the time to study it. I can take the time to express how I feel about how I think things look and feel. Yeah, so I've really focused my art process on that, and now it's really cool to be able to share that with other people because I'm often faced with people asking me like, oh, well, how are you a visual artist? Why did you choose that? And it's because anything is possible. If you feel inspired and comfortable, then follow that. That doesn't mean that just because you quote unquote shouldn't be able to do something doesn't mean you can't. You just have to keep trying.
Love that. Thank you. Definitely got to check out Rachel's mural. It was another like last minute, hey, do you want to paint a mural? And she stepped up to it and it's looking really great so far. So thank you. Shannon, I loved hearing you talk about your podcast. I think it's so cool that you're wanting to bring other creatives together in this way and help them find their voice and their story. Do you want to talk about that and how it is you're connecting with other artists?
Sure. So I started as a painter at a festival and ended up as a photographer and realized that the media didn't cover art and artists the way they should be covered. So I took myself from behind a camera and a paintbrush and put my microphone in my hand, which is also terrifying. And then I kind of took liberties with my partner to start just using it as a way to get to know other artists. Like, I knew my process, but I also looked up to so many other people in the scene, and it's a great way to just be like, hey, I want to know your story. By the way, can we record it? Then I can tell other people about you. And there's something really beautiful about collaboration in getting to know other people's stories. And we're here with all our partners and our friends, but we don't often know like what they're going through or what they've been through or how they got there or what brought them to the festival scene or into whatever art scene they're in. Part of my podcast is also recording the history that is being built here through the visual artist industry and showing it to kind of the hoity-toity artist collectives that are gatekeeping, and showing them that there's so many badass people out here that, yeah, we're not wearing business suits and going to a 9-to-5, but we work twice as hard. We don't talk about it, but when you put a microphone in an artist's hand and you make it a conversation and you allow them to express themselves, to share what it is, whether it's a grief story, a recovery story, or just they never felt like they fit in, that is relatable and universal to not just artists, but anybody in the world. And it inspires people to then find a healing path through art, which is another part of the podcast. So 10 years ago, we created the community, the Bring Me to Life Network, and we wanted to bring people to life however they felt they needed to be seen. Sometimes it was art and visual and painting. Sometimes it was musicians. Sometimes it was, flow artists and other kinds of performers. And we just interviewed so many different people. And recently, Lacey and I teamed up to do the We Are Artists podcast to specifically feature visual artists and the dream and hard work that goes behind that. This summer, I'm actually taking that to a couple of conferences. A big one I would love to shout out is Artists Thrive. I think that so many of us would do really well there, and they are looking, like I said, to figure out how to give basic income and support to artists through the nonprofit industries. They link you up with different people too. So by podcasting, I learn what other artists need so that I can help them better. And knowing that the income's one, knowing that people need to share stories, but also the tax thing. So there's a book called Art and Numbers that I wanted to shout out to you too. It breaks down like what portfolios and stuff looks like, and there's podcasts with her talking about it. But yeah, have a story and know how to share it, and that can just be babbling until you figure it out, because that's how we learn, just like pushing paint around until you figure out where it goes. And don't be afraid to record it, even if it's just you and a microphone at first. Other people will want to come talk to you, and then things like this appear, and it's a beautiful thing.
So well said. Thank you, guys. We're pretty much wrapped for time, but I just want to end with this, that I'm really grateful for you showing up today. I personally just gained so much from hearing each of your voices and a little bit more of your story. And I know that every artist that gets to hear this recording is going to be moved and touched in some way by us showing up and giving the time for this discussion. And I really have seen so much growth in all of you in some way, shape, or form, and it makes me want to keep showing up on behalf of everyone. It really fuels all of it when we're all doing our part in some way, whether it's just as a human, being present. So I love you guys. Thank you for your time and energy.
Art in Session is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to provide professional and educational opportunities to creatives. Thanks to support from our listeners, we are able to keep this mission going. If you are enjoying this podcast, please consider donating at www.artinsession.org.